never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to Neff Inspiration, a show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. I am honored to have today Laura Mangum Broome with me. Laura is a woman who has had to deal with so many challenges in her life. It's no longer funny. And as so often, these challenges all came together within a short period of time. Measly 5 years were loaded with more trauma than you could even imagine. And yet, here is this woman who is going out there and is making this world a better place. She is not just a survivor, she's a thriver. Here's a woman who clearly chose, instead of getting bitter, she's getting better. And I want to know, how the hell did she do that? So, Laura, thank you very much for being a guest on my show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And I think the key to so many challenges is how we look upon them and how we have trained our own system to respond. Without now going already into all the solutions, how we all can manage adversity in a better way. Tell us a little bit, who was the Laura prior to those 5 years of hell?
I joke around and say Laura was kind of fat, dumb, and happy going through life. And just
Okay.
I know. Oh, I know. I had a good childhood. I had a happy one. I have wonderful relationship with my twin sister and our younger brother, and it just kind of went through life doing what I was supposed to do. After high school, I got a job and I kept working and thought I was never going to get married. So I just enjoyed life as it was. Once I accepted that, and boom, I met my husband. So I think after marriage, that's when I kind of learned how to deal with a lot of problems. Not so much in the marriage, but just, owning a house, having kids, just the day-to-day, issues, setbacks, and you just have to find a way to keep going.
Well, I think so far you're basically describing the vast majority of people out there. And already that is quite good, because we all look at social media and maybe compare ourselves with others and find out, oh, look, they're so much better. And that's probably the worst thing you can do. But so far, so good. We all go through those daily challenges. And some of us are already derailing in the process. So were there any derailments in your life at this bit earlier stage?
Oh, plenty. My husband at the time when I married him was in the U.S. Army Reserves, and so his unit that he was in deployed fairly regularly, and when we got married, I was we were both about 30. So I was used to being on my own. And so when he'd go off on deployment, it can be anywhere from like 6 months to a year. I'd have to deal with issues. And it invariably, after the first month he was gone, something major happened, either with the house or the car. And in the beginning, I was just kind of like, hair on fire. What do I do? What do I do? And I learned I had resources, and we were not close to his unit. And so I really didn't have any support from other families, other spouses in his unit. So I kind of had to learn to deal with things on my own. And I learned how not to do things. I learned so many ways how not to do things. and but I always found a way how to do it, and found out why not to do it that way. So I had a lot of, growth opportunities in those situations. Lots of funny stories. I mean, they weren't funny at the time, but once it was over with, it was fun to laugh about. Because I entertained a lot of my friends and family with my stories. So, and I think a lot of that was growing up. My family had a funny sense of humor, kind of dry sense of humor. So it was kind of natural after, the hardships, the setbacks, to kind of laugh about it afterwards.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, that's a very, very strong, beautiful coping mechanism, that you can laugh
Mm,
about it, and that you can see already the positive in something, regardless how negative it looks at that moment.
yes.
Wow. Okay. So far so good. Fast forward. So far you're coping very well in your life. But then there came 5 years of interesting experiences.
Yes, yes. 3 years after we had started a business. It was actually my husband's business. Through my accounting experience and running small offices, I decided to run the day-to-day operations while he, did the like sales and marketing. I did not know anything about his business, so I had to learn it from the ground up,
Mm.
which worked great because I could train the employees. And 3 years into our business, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that kind of caught me off guard because we don't have a history that I knew of breast cancer in my family. And fortunately, my oncologist offered some of her patients who needed to keep with their day to day schedules. She offered me half treatments over a 6-month time frame instead of full treatments over a 3-month time frame. And that was just wonderful because it allowed me
Wow.
to kind of start turning over some of my duties to some staff. And in the afternoon, I'd go get my chemo treatment and go home and rest, and then go back to work the next morning.
Wow.
And it took some adjustment. The first month or two, I was nauseous. I was trying to get used to those heavy um, chemo treatments. And so everything was, it's like, I remember going, well, this isn't too bad once the nausea stopped, because the nausea medicine they gave me that made me nauseous. So they hadn't seen that before. So fortunately, it only lasted a month. Then I
Mm.
remember thinking after that, it's like, well, this isn't as bad. It could be a lot worse. And then my hair fell out. And that, I knew it was coming, but I think that's when it really hit me. Oh my gosh, I have cancer.
Mm.
And but again, I turned that into a good thing. It was hard. I mean, that was really a tough day for me, when I knew it was going to happen. And um I was brushing my hair, and I could just feel some of the clumps coming out. And I cried. And then I thought, well, it's going to happen. Just get it over with. And so I took out the hair clippers and I just shaved. I did. I like G.I. Jane. I never saw that
Oh.
movie, but I remember seeing the trailer and I thought, I'm just going to pull a Demi Moore. And that's what I did. I just shaved my head and got it over with. I already had a wig, before I did that. And, but it was, so I started wearing the wig, and I have some funny stories about that too. But because of course it happened. I lost my hair during the summertime. I got
Yeah.
diagnosed and all that. So I was telling you earlier, how hot it gets in San Antonio, Texas. And so wearing a synthetic wig didn't really kind of go together. When I was outside, I was afraid my wig was going to catch on fire.
Oh goodness, I can
So
just imagine.
anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it when you go through things unexpected like that, you have to have your time to grieve. And when you process your emotions, you're kind of like, well, what now? And I just decided I've gotten through, other setbacks, other difficulties, not as bad as this, but I'll get through it. And I had support network that helped
Mm,
tremendously, and wonderful doctors. My
mm,
goodness, when my doctor said, your diagnosis is this, but it's curable. I mean, I didn't hear what she said before curable, but the curable kind
mm,
of snapped me,
mm,
got my attention. I said, it's curable. And she goes, yes, but you're going to have to follow this schedule. And I said, you just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. Um, because I truly believe um, when you have that hope, I mean, just a possibility, because I was technically in stage 3 breast cancer
mm,
because of the size. And she said, don't pay attention to stage 3. You just, because of the size, you just crossed over to that stage. But we can, if you do this, we can take care of it. And she said, whatever you do, don't Google anything. Don't look up anything on Google. I said, I won't. And I didn't
uh,
because I knew how important it was to keep my stress down and to focus on my health during this, during the doing the chemo treatments, because it was going to knock my immunities down.
mm,
And so it was probably, well, it was good that I went through breast cancer at that time, during that time frame, because of the rest of my story. But um that going through that experience is where it really trained me to, develop that positive mindset and do what I could do, focus on what I could do, instead of dwelling on what I lost or what I couldn't do. I knew my hair was going to grow back, so it, and so,
mm.
when you're without hair, you start to find out the benefits of not having any hair, because I could get ready earlier in the morning, you know. I mean, you try to find those positive things.
Okay, I didn't even consider that. There you go. Well,
I
actually,
well, for
I can.
women,
Yeah,
I know. But for women, that's a big deal,
touche, touche.
So,
Were there no
so
temptations to escape the reality?
yes, but I was so busy with the business.
Mm,
And I mean, my boys were in high school at the time. If I was left alone, sitting at home and had nothing to do,
mm,
oh yeah, I could easily fall into that poor pitiful me. Life goes on. Nobody understands what I'm going through. And because I'm great at having my pity party of one. That wasn't the only time I went through it. I still go through it even today. And then I just start, then I realize what I'm doing. Instead of focusing always on me, I got to focus, turn that focus outward.
mm,
And you realize it's not as bad as you can make it, by just having your pity party. But
mm,
I mean, it's important to have it and to get that, go through those emotions, and acknowledge it, but don't
mm,
dwell in it, don't sit in it,
mm.
because it's not going to be beneficial to you.
You're so right, but it's so important that you say acknowledge those feelings because those feelings are normal. It's absolutely normal to
Yes.
go through a grief period, and therefore, instead of maybe calling it a pity party, which is so often a very appropriate thing because we have those emotions and wallow in them and stay in them. And then the word pity party is very appropriate. But equally important is to describe the same situation as actually dealing with grief and loss, because that is what is happening. And
Right.
it is so important to accept that, because I was never good in doing that. I have never been taught by role models or by life to actually acknowledge my emotions, certainly not the negative emotions. And when I look at the amount of grief and loss that truly I've gone through in my life, and then to accept that I actually have not dealt with it, well, surprise, surprise, that there are flow-on effects from that.
Yes, yes. And there's I hear from people, or even I see people that I can tell have not dealt with their grief
Mm,
for whatever reason. Either, you just don't want to go through those
mm,
feelings. Um, but it's so important to acknowledge them because, like I said, loss is loss. And you may not go through, I just still kind of refer to the 5 stages of grief, that model has changed over the years.
mm,
Um everybody grieves differently. I'm more of a private griever. I don't like to grieve in public.
mm,
um um and so, I went through my grieving process, with all my losses in my way, in my time frame. And and I have to say that it was kind of bittersweet going through so many losses. The grief period was different each time,
ah,
and it
yeah,
didn't last as long, um, as it did. I'd say one of my toughest losses that I had was shortly after I got married, and we lost our mother, to a massive heart attack. And it was so unexpected. She was 60. um you know I'm 62 now.
mm,
And so I always think about, gosh, she was so young. At the time, I didn't realize it. but but that was so devastating to just lose someone so quickly.
mm,
And I went through a whole emotional roller coaster with that. And you know but um but like I said, over time, um learning to deal with losses, big or small. I think the smaller losses are really better to go through, to practice dealing with your emotions. And I'm
yeah,
not going to say what small is, because it's kind of relative. But it could be just,
mm,
it could, a loss could be just car problems. You wanted to go somewhere, your car is not running properly, you can't go. Well, that's frustrating, and you're gonna go through similar emotions. But it's so much better and beneficial to go through those emotions, just deal with them, acknowledge them, either
mm,
journal them, talk to somebody. In one of my challenges, I did actually go talk to a counselor, and that helped tremendously.
mm.
um so it's I think if you don't want to deal with them, I'm just going to say, please try to deal with them. Because it's because I think by not dealing with your emotions, you can't move forward
Mm,
because you're stuck. And I kind of, at that point, once you, either whether you don't deal with your emotions or you do,
mm,
you kind of move into the phase, are you going to be a victim or a victor?
yeah,
And I think that's so important, because I want everybody to become a victor. I don't want anybody to
mm,
sit and stay stuck. I because I've been there. I don't ever want to be that
mm,
way again. And I want everybody to be able to move forward and experience growth and hope and start feeling that joy again.
Well, Laura, let me play devil's advocate because I know there are people out there who say, yeah, okay, she has had cancer. So what? Lots of people have cancer. At least she had the support network and she stated it herself. She was not alone. But see, me, I've got a divorce and there are financial trouble and your story continues. It's not just the breast cancer, is it?
No, it's not. And, and let me clarify something too. A support network, it can be one person, it can be two, it can be, you know, hundreds of people.
Mm,
But it's whatever helps you feel supported and
mm,
encouraged. We were so busy with our business. I hadn't talked to a lot of my friends. I mean, I have my twin sister who lived with us, who had gone through a divorce. And of course, she and I are very close. But, I had my immediate family. But, it's important to find a support somewhere, even online,
mm.
you know but yeah, I mean, I do not mean to make it sound like it was easy. I just kind of went from here to here. um it's a long process, but your show is, it's not that long. So
Okay. Yeah.
so I mean, but I'm for anybody in your audience, that wants to question anything that I talk about, I'm happy to have a conversation with them, and because I understand it's not easy. It is, it can, I mean, there's days later on in my story, I mean, it was all I could do to get out of bed. And because I was so devastated. And so, I can't go into a whole lot of detail about my experiences, but I know what pain feels like. I know what that helpless and hopeless feeling is like.
Mm,
um, I've experienced it all: financial
mm.
difficulties, health problems. I mean, I have experienced a lot um,
And
of
to spell it
hardship.
to spell it out, Laura, you have had first your breast cancer, and then within 5 years, you've lost your marriage. As such, there was a threat to your livelihood. Everything that you have identified yourself with was suddenly gone.
Hmm.
There must have been many thoughts of, I'm a failure. I'm uh, not worth the love. No one will love me anymore. You're on the wrong side of whatever age limit you put there. Um,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
I'm fat, I'm unlovable, these thoughts must have been like a tsunami washing over you. What
Oh,
did you
sure.
do?
Sure.
How the hell did you kept yourself above that water of despair?
um the divorce was the hardest part. While I was going through breast cancer, I also lost my teenage son to suicide. And 2 years later, I found out um, the chemo had, for lack of a better word or terminology, it had flipped on a genetic marker for congestive heart failure. And so the chemo had really damaged my heart
Yeah.
at this point, but it took a while to get diagnosed with for a heart transplant.
Hmm.
And so in 2020, everything, the rest of my um, my tragedy, I guess, kind of came to a head because I went in and had my heart transplant in April, um, at the end of April, and I came home on Mother's Day weekend a couple of weeks later to a wonderful celebration. I was so excited to be home. And, celebrating Mother's Day, I thought this is the best Mother's Day gift I could get, to have a successful heart transplant, come home to my family. And then a month later, finding out that my marriage was over. My husband had been in a relationship for over a year. And that that the losing our son was hard, but I think this was kind of like the last straw. And at the time, I didn't know a lot of things that had been going on. And I felt like I was so low. I'd hit rock bottom, and I was feeling so low that aspiring to be pond scum was something that I just could not achieve at the moment. That's how low I felt. I felt betrayed. I felt, I mean, just, yes, all those feelings, I just, I was truly at the lowest point. But as I going through the divorce process, a lot of things kind of came to light. And oh boy, I hit that anger stage in the grief process. And at first, I was angry at him because I couldn't understand how he could flip a switch and go, well, they're almost 30 years, time to move on. And I'm just in shock. And I mean, we had our ups and downs. We had gone to marriage counseling, trying to work things out, but just to be able to make that clear cut and move on, I had such a struggle with that. But when I got to that angry stage, I became angry with me, because I got angry, and I at myself, because it's like, what are you hanging on for something that will never happen? I mean, the marriage is over. He's moved on. He moved on over a year ago. You've got to move on. And again, that's where I became, are you going to be a victim or a victor? And I didn't like it. I didn't approve of it. I didn't want it, but I had to accept it. And that's when I talk about radical acceptance. You have to acknowledge it is what it is. Are you going to move forward, or are you going to stay and wallow in, your circumstances?
It's beautiful for me to hear that you said it took you a year to get over that. Because again, today in our society, we want immediate satisfaction. We want to see a resilience coach and, immediately flick the switch from me. Okay. I want to be happy again. I want to be like the Coca-Cola advertisement right now. Do it. Do it to me. And it doesn't really work like that, does it? Even with the best
No.
coaching.
No, but I found something that worked for me. And again, this was through trial and error. I mean, it took me, again, going through the pandemic. I was not only quarantined at home because of the pandemic, but I was also having to be quarantined for a year after my heart transplant. So, so what am I going to do, for a job, for income? Everything. It's like I'm starting completely from scratch again. And so I that's when I realized, if I keep focusing on what I can't do, I'm just going to be depressed. I'm just going to want to lay in bed all day. If I can focus on what I can do, that gives me something to do. I can do something. And I started realizing there were a lot of things I could do. I had, control over my thoughts and my words and my actions. And so I started learning that if I got a thought that says, well, I can't do this anymore, then I would immediately say, but what can you do? And I'd start making a list just to remind me, I can do a lot of things. I could get up out of bed, I can take a shower, I can get dressed, I can just go move over to the couch and watch TV. or I can call somebody. There's so many things that I realized I could do, that's what I started doing. And, and that helped. It was a slow process. It didn't happen overnight. But that helped me move forward. It's like I have to live in the present, and at the time, it's like you can't dwell on the past anymore. It is what it is. Live in the moment, focus on what you can do, and keep moving forward.
And that's no doubt this is the right way to go. Yet you've been talking about the past and about the negative reminiscing about the, oh my God, that is all where, the grief and loss kind of thing. The other thing that, however, plays in many of our minds is the future. We are so good in imagining everything going pear-shaped in the future, the catastrophizing, to put a negative word on it, or calling it a simple trauma response where your body tries to protect you and your body tries to prevent you doing something that potentially makes it worse. So therefore, it plays out every single negative outcome in front of you. And that is hard. I mean, that's 80% of our thoughts are negative. How do you deal
Yes.
with that?
Well, again, the lovely thing is that we always have choices, and we might not like our choices. But I mean, there were times that, after the divorce became final, I was supposed to, the type of insurance was supposed to continue under my social security number. And it's a long story. I won't get into it, but my insurance, I was eligible, but I couldn't enroll. And I kept getting different reasons why. And this lasted for a year. So, 8 months after my heart transplant, I can't continue with my follow-up visits. I I mean, I couldn't get answers. I was on the phone. It was like this little triangle, you need to call this department, or well, no, we can't do anything until this one does something. Well, this one is telling, I mean, it was just so frustrating. And and so I did so much research on my own and trying to get this resolved. And the only thing I could do, again, what can I do? The only thing I could do is pay for my medications out of pocket. My family helped me pay for those, because they were very expensive at the time. And I had to start what can I do today? What can I do today? And every day was like that. What can I do today? What can I do today? And it took 13 months to get my insurance turned back on. And boy, was I frustrated. I was angry. I was taking names and documenting. I mean, I'm like, but my parents always said I was stubborn, and that's probably, I call that one of my superpowers, that I'm stubborn, but it makes me persevere. I do not, one of my biggest pet peeves is injustice. I cannot stand injustice. And because of going through some of those injustices, if you want to call it that, I had to be creative in how I was going to solve problems, what decisions I was going to make. I had to be creative. Again, I didn't always make the right choice, but I learned from making the wrong choices, from making, but I knew I had to make a decision to move forward. If it was wrong, I can adjust it. But I just can't stay stuck in a situation where it's just making me miserable.
That's beautiful.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. And it is such a strong, positive attitude that is so missing in many lives. Therefore, whilst you were saying that, my mind was wandering to moments where maybe I could have chosen to have a different attitude and I didn't. And then again, it's like going to the gym. The very first time you go to the gym and try to lift some weights, you can barely lift the smallest ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with practicing the radical self-love, the radical
Mm-hmm.
acceptance, those kind of things. It is we are not used to that. We are used to beating ourselves up. We are
Mm-hmm.
our worst critics.
Yes.
We are brutal in the way we talk to ourselves. We would never talk to our worst enemy in the way we talk to ourselves. Yet here we are, here you are modeling right now a very positive attitude. And I must say this is obviously the the foundation was there, but then you had to learn the hard lessons. And this was a period of, I would say, more than 5 years that you have now come to this beautiful attitude where you can actually truly say, I have grown, I have thrived out of all this adversity. And I think that is so important to recognize for all of us. We are it's this is not a quick fix of
Mm-hmm.
doing something here and now I'm thinking positive and I'm not feeling better. Well, that's not very good. It's clearly not working. I've journaled yesterday the first time. I must be feeling so much better. Well, doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. And what I tell my clients is, take baby steps.
Mhm.
Don't try to think you're going to feel better in a few days, a week. It's a process. And like you were talking about the gym, resilience is a muscle that you just have to keep practicing the skills and the mindset,
Mhm.
and you're going to get stronger. Yes, this all happened. We're in, June of 2024. This all happened 4 years ago.
Mhm.
4 years. This is the month that I found out I was going through a divorce.
Mhm.
um, and looking back, it seems so long ago, but then again, it seems like it's just been a short time period that this all happened. But I can tell you now, by practicing these skills and these coping strategies, it's sometimes it's just automatic for me. If I have a negative thought, I immediately, correct it. And,
Mhm.
and sometimes I have to coach myself because I'm going, oh, this isn't working out,
Mhm.
and it's like, Laura, and I just go through there's 3 quick steps that you can take, to practice resilient skills. It's not hard. You could even teach them to a child, and again, they're baby steps, but you feel empowered that you have, control over your thoughts. The negative rumination, oh my gosh. For years I used to be a worrier. If you weren't worrying about something, then I'll be happy to worry about it for you. That's what I was like. And just over time I realized I'm worrying about things I have no control over. And why waste that energy on that? And why not focus on something that I do have control over, that I can do something about?
Mhm.
And I think that's what I'm so passionate now is I'm an ordinary person who went through extraordinary things in a short amount of time.
Mhm.
But my passion is to tell other people, you can get through this. You have what it takes. I just need to show you how to draw it out, or maybe it's not me, maybe it's somebody else. But I can even tell you, Stephan, what you're going through right now, you have what it takes inside you. You have superpowers and inside you that they need to come out, but you just need to know how to tap into them. And when you get down to your bottom, when you think you've hit rock bottom, that's when you say, what can I do to move forward? What can I do to get out of this? And that's how I found my superpowers.
Mhm.
Mine happened to come out in humor, um sarcasm, I'm afraid to say, but usually the sarcasm is pointed at me, not at other people. Um, gratitude is one of, I think, the most important superpowers we don't practice enough. And that's focusing on what we have instead of what we don't have. And that's one of the things that I tell my clients just right off the bat. If you, at the end of the day, find 3 things that you're grateful for and why, and do that every day. And if you find you got, sometimes it's just as simple as, I have a house, I have food, I have clothes. Sometimes that can be as simple to start out with. But just when you're starting to be more mindful throughout your day, you'll see those little things that pop up. Oh, someone did something nice for me. Somebody took my grocery cart and returned it to the cart storage thing for me. That was really nice. That saved me some time. You just find those little bits of gratitude, and you realize things aren't that bad. They're bad, but I still have things to be grateful for. And I think that is so important when we start feeling down and we start feeling bad about our circumstances. Is there are so many things that we can enjoy and be grateful for and keep us going. That's where your hope comes from. And I always tell people, if you can't find anything to be grateful for, especially in a bad situation, be grateful that it's not worse. Because even though everything that I went through in that 5-year period, I could find so many ways that could have been much worse. And it wasn't, so that I'm grateful that it was not worse.
How do you practice your gratefulness?
I actually, I kind of go throughout the day. I started out doing 1 to 3 things a day. At the end of the day, I like to do it before I go to bed, because it makes me, have things to think about on a positive note to help me go to sleep. And, then I would get to where I would challenge myself. Okay, don't wait till at the end of the day, because I'd have to keep track of it on my phone, because I forget, and because so much stuff is going on. And keep track of it on your phone. Just write things down. It could be, oh, well, we're in summer right now, so it would be, oh, I love the smell of freshly mowed grass. I write that down. And and so now, oh gosh, I really can say I find such joy throughout the day, because I'm more mindful of the little things to be grateful for. And I know I had to do it the other day. I was stuck in traffic, and I start going through my old, oh my gosh, it's going to take me forever, construction and traffic. And it's like, Laura, find one good thing. Well, oh, I've got an audiobook I've been wanting to listen to. Let me put that on and I'll listen to that while I'm in traffic. Like I said, it just starts to become automatic. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. And I tell you, others will see that light in you when you start practicing this on a daily basis. Because I remember the first time I started getting out and kind of connecting with friends again, they would say, Laura, you just have this glow about you. You just look so happy. And, they're expecting to see completely the opposite. And I said, well, I honestly say I'm happy. I've been through a lot, but I have so much to be grateful for. And it could have been a lot worse, so why not enjoy the happiness for a change?
Oh, beautiful to hear.
Yeah.
I think for me, uh, I use often the mantra, I'm happy and grateful that. And by just spelling it out loud, I'm forcing myself to come up with something. I hate it when I can't finish a sentence. So therefore, my mind automatically jumps into it. Okay, even if I can't imagine anything to be happy and grateful for, the moment I spell it out loud, something comes out. And it might be
Yes.
something silly, And then I need to chuckle to myself about the silliness of what my brain has just produced me. And that's okay, because it has interrupted my physical state and it has interrupted my pity party. And I keep going, often keep going for a minute or two nonstop. I'm happy and grateful that right now I'm meeting Laura, that right now I'm sitting down here. I've got a warm, snuggly blanket on because it
Mm-hmm.
is cold in this room. I'm happy and grateful that, and I just keep going, regardless what comes out. And after a minute, it's really, really hard to be down and out.
Isn't
It
it?
is. It is just a sheer fact that your ears are listening to your own voice, formulating these words that are so different than what is sort of washing over your brain as neurochemicals of downers, so to speak.
And that's so true that when you talked about the mantra, um, during my, after the divorce and recovering at
Mm,
home, um, I was trying to find, I was trying to find books, something on how to, get through a
mm,
divorce, and never thought I'd be going through one. So I was trying to
mm,
find something to help me, and I couldn't find anything that I liked or that appealed to me. Um, and I realized I need something, I need a mantra,
mm,
I need something to
mm,
hold me accountable. And
mm,
so my mantra I came up with was hunt the good stuff, find the humor, seek the positive, and focus on your blessings. And I told myself that I had to do one of those four things every day, preferably two, but if I could just do one of those things
yeah,
every day, I was
yeah,
going to get through this.
beautiful.
And so I think mantras are great
Mm,
because it you know you can't go wrong by doing something positive. And I'm going to tell people too, if you don't feel like, if you wake up and you go, I just don't want to be positive today, then don't. But please be considerate of taking it out on other people. If that means
mm,
just stay in your room and have somebody throw you food in there, but just experience it, get it out, and just give yourself a time limit.
mm,
Today I'm going to just be a curmudgeon, but tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and I'm
mm,
going to, be more positive. I'm going to do something because we wake up with a clean slate most of the time,
mm,
and again, I go back to the choices. How do you want to choose to live your day? Because once
mm.
today's gone, we can't get that time back.
Oh, so true.
And like I said, I'm 62. I kind of joke around, I say the first third of my life, I was on my own, I was happy. The second third of my life, I was married, had a family, two boys. And towards the end of that, you know I experienced loss. And so I'd like to think the next third of my life, or at least the next 20 years, I mean, my son just had their first daughter, and I am determined to see her graduate from high school, in
Mm,
18, 19 years, however that's going to be, or maybe sooner, but I'm determined I will be at her graduation, her high school graduation. So that means I have to take care of my heart.
mm,
I've got a new heart, not brand new, but and so the second chance at life, I want to learn from my life lessons.
mm,
I want to take care of my heart. I want to
mm,
enjoy this part of my life,
mm.
to the best of my ability.
And I love it what you're saying there. You want to take care of your heart, you want to take care of your life. You couldn't have said better words, because what you're
Mm.
describing is, of course, your physical heart there, but also the emotional heart. There is a huge role in setting boundaries. There's a huge role in you actually laying the foundation of living a healthy life, which means the nutrition, the sleep, the hydration,
Mm.
looking after yourself with all the minerals and cofactors that we need in order to produce all those beautiful, lovely hormones like serotonin and dopamine and all those feel good things that
Mm-hmm.
we want in life, but we often don't lay the foundation of it. So instead of having a solid ground there, we are trying to sort of, balance on some Swiss cheese thin layer of something, which certainly doesn't allow us to grow into the people, the humans that we deserve to be. So I think your focus on choice is so
Mm.
important because we've all got the same amount of seconds in the day. And each and every
Exactly.
second we can make choices. And many of these choices that we do nowadays are counterproductive. And my biggest bugbear is truly the nutrition. We eat shit and then we expect to
Mm-hmm.
feel like a king. And it doesn't really work like that. I'm sorry, guys.
No.
So therefore, it's such an important message that you're bringing out there in all these levels, that we have choices when it comes to our physical body, our emotions, how we respond to the things around us, also how we address the previous trauma, because you are here now, with a whole range of things that have occurred to you. For some of them, you have healed. For some of them, you still need to heal. And
Mm-hmm.
that's just a fact. Many of us don't take the time to address those things in the past. So it sounds a bit counterproductive because at the moment, come on, Stefan and Laura, you just said, no, don't dwell on the past. Well, don't dwell there, don't live there, but you have to go
Right.
back there from now and then, A, to get reminders how bad it really was. Secondly, to actually address some of the things. And often enough, you don't know that you need to until one day something new happens, and maybe a response, a kind of program that suddenly runs in you, and you behave in a certain way where you have to think, where's that coming from? And then suddenly you realize, aha, there was something that you really never looked at. And that's important. These are all messages from your body, from your spirit, from God, from the universe, whoever and whatever you believe in. But these are important things. And again, these are choices that you make. You have to choose to deal with some very painful things in the past. Often enough, behaviors that maybe you have significantly contributed to. And that's the hardest
Mm-hmm.
thing. It's all quite nice to deal with trauma that occurred to you. But when you then actually do the homework and realize, actually, I had quite a big role to play in that trauma, and actually practicing extreme ownership, that's where the hard work lies, but also where I think the biggest opportunity for growth lies. But we need to take time to actually realize that. Having said that, so often we don't know what we don't know. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the role of a good coach. That's the role of someone who is able to listen to you and then ask you questions about what you have said, and maybe ask you questions about what you have not said, to actually make you go, ah. And I think these are the valuable
Mm-hmm.
moments. Wow, Laura, I mean, you are such a resilient woman. You're practicing what you preach. If people like to know more about you, if they want
Mm-hmm.
to just work with you, I mean, how can they do that?
Yes, the best place is to go to my website, and that's www.icopetohope.com,
Mm,
and that's with the number 2. But that's the best way, because I have some free resources there. I have blogs that they can read, and
mm,
I have a free resource, and I just like I said, my passion is just to let people know you can get through the hard things. Like you said earlier, Stephan, adversity makes you bitter or better. Choose better, and you can just really enjoy a wonderful life after hardship.
Brilliant.
It's a choice.
And it is wonderful to realize that, because it gives you freedom. That truly transcends you from the victim into the survivor. And then once you really practice that choice and really try to work with it, you then change from the survivor into the thriver. And that's beautiful. That is a wonderful journey. And it's a shame that we all have to go through trauma in order to get those realizations. But
I
yeah.
know. But if we don't, we don't know.
Well,
I mean,
exactly.
we don't grow. We grow through, but as I said, I know how to do a lot of I know how not to do a lot of things in life.
Well, true.
But I appreciate when I do something right. But but I do believe everything is a choice. And just remember too that not accomplishing something the first go around, or even the mistakes we make in the past, they don't have to be failure. They can be life lessons. They can be growth. If we look at them in the right light, like you said, what did I do to contribute to it? And and as long as we grow, then that's good, because nobody is perfect in this world, and we're all growing and we're all learning. And don't dwell on regrets in life. Just learn from them.
Guys, if you want to find more out about Laura, look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast, because all of Laura's details are down there. And whilst you're down there, please press the like and subscribe button, because there is so much of beautiful content that is coming onto this channel. And already I've had the privilege of talk to close to 500 amazing humans who all have allowed me to grow, because every single interview allows me to expand my horizon and to learn more about myself, about the universe, about everything out there. So come on, guys, come on the journey, and let's just work together. Let's collaborate, let's co-create, let's learn from each other, and together we can make this world a better place, starting by each and every one of us deep inside, by growing. And then this will be a flow-on effect, a ripple effect that will change this world for the better. So, Laura, thank you so much for being a guest on my show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. And you guys out there, look after yourself and live with intention. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.